The Committee on Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs is called to order March 17th, Thursday, 2 p.m. in conference room 325. We have a number of bills on the agenda. First one, SB 3046, making an emergency appropriation to the Department of Attorney General. Vice Chair.
First up on this measure, we have the Department of the Attorney General in support.
Good afternoon, Chair Nakashima and members of the committee. I'm John Price from the Attorney General's office, and we support this measure. We're requesting additional funding due to onslaught of complex and very expensive looking cases with large damage potential. And that's the basis spelled out in our written testimony for the need for additional funds at this time. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. That is all the testifiers we have today. Members, any questions? If not, I do have one. For the Attorney General's office, you recommended in your testimony an increase of $3 million up to $4 million. So the initial amount was $1 million. Now your recommendation is for $4 million. Why such a dramatic increase between the introduction of the bill and now?
We're looking at potential large lawsuits arising from the Red Hill situation. Some have been filed already by residents against property managers and not the Navy directly, but there's a good chance that the state and the Department of Health particularly could get drawn in by the residents who claim they were getting impure water through the leakage from the storage tanks. If we're brought into those, the cost of defending them will skyrocket from what we had anticipated.
Okay, so what would be a reasonable date for the Attorney General's office to return this money if it's not used on expert fees?
We're asking that it not lapse until the end of fiscal 23, 2023.
So it'll lapse in 2023. Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? If not, we'll move on to SB 2392, ST2, relating to civil legal services. We have two testifiers here today. First up, Volunteer Legal Services Hawaii in support. Should be over Zoom.
Sorry, I had a problem unmuting. Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the Committee on Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs. My name is Rachel Figueroa, and I'm the Executive Director of Volunteer Legal Services Hawaii, testifying in support of Senate Bill 2392 SD2 and the recommendation to appropriate funding in the sum of $750,000 for civil legal services to low and moderate income individuals in Hawaii. I stand on my testimony. Thank you for your time. I'm available for questions after.
Okay, thank you. And next up, we have Legal Aid Society of Hawaii in support. Should also be over Zoom. It's there. Okay. Jim, you're still muted. Can we unmute him from this side? Okay. Oh, there he is.
Finally, I'm unmuted. Mahalo, Chair, Vice Chair. My name is Jim Gagney. I'm the Director of Finance for Legal Aid Society. We stand on our testimony and we're happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Members, any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to SB 2458 SD2 relating to legal services for low-income immigrants. First up, we have Hawaii Friends of Civil Rights in support. Is Patricia out there? Okay, not present. Okay, next up, we have the Hawaii Coalition for Immigrant Rights in support.
Aloha, Chair and Vice Chair and members of the committee. This is Liza Ryan Gill, co-chair of the Hawaii Coalition for Immigrant Rights, representing more than 25 organizations, immigrant serving and immigrant led. We are in strong support of SB 2458. As many of you know, most folks who are foreign born and in the process of trying to adjust their status do not have access to legal representation, which leads to terrible cases of 3 and 4 year olds having to defend themselves in a court of law against ICE lawyers. We also know that these cases are very difficult to win if you don't have representation. Here in the state, we only have a handful of lawyers that are working on immigration law for low-income immigrants. So we strongly support this as a way to make sure that everyone has access to representation, or at least greater access to representation, and so that folks can adjust their status and become greater members and contributing more to our economy in the state. So we appreciate your consideration. Wow.
Okay, thank you. Members, any questions? Okay, see none, we'll move on to SB 3189 ST2 relating to gambling. First up, public defenders in opposition.
Hi, good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I'm Assistant Public Defender Lee Hayakawa. The Office of the Public Defender respectfully opposes SB 3189 SD2. In Hawaii's criminal sentencing scheme, it simply makes no sense for even a repeat offense to turn a low-level, non-violent, victimless misdemeanor, such as gambling, possession of gambling records in the second degree, or possession of gambling devices, into a Class C felony. On a second offense in 10 years, the simple illegal gambler will be treated as if he or she were the owner or operator of an illegal gambling operation. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on this measure. I am available for questions.
Thank you. Not too sure about victimless. Next up, we have prosecuting attorney with comments. Prosecutors.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Deputy Prosecuting Attorney Mark Tom for the department. Department stands on its written testimony with comments. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all the testifiers we have today. Members, any questions? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to SB 2082 relating to abuse of family or household members. First up, we have the Attorney General's office in support.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Deputy Attorney General Timothy Tate, testifying on behalf of the department, and the department is in support of this bill, which would promote greater protection for victims of domestic violence and safety in the home. My other points are noted in my written testimony, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up, we have HPD in support. Okay, not present. Next up, Honolulu prosecutors in support.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Deputy Prosecuting Attorney Mark Tom for the department. Department stands in strong support of this bill. It is part of our 2022 legislative package, so we thank the committee again for hearing this bill. Here for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And last up, we have the Hawaii State Coalition Against Domestic Violence in support. Okay, not present. Anyone here to testify? Anyone else here to testify this measure in person or over Zoom? All right, seeing none, members, any questions? Good, seeing none, we'll move on to SB 2114 relating to the Children's Justice Program. First up, we have the AG's office in support.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Deputy Attorney General and State Human Trafficking Coordinator Fashad Talebi. Department stands in strong support for this bill. The CJC plays a vital role supporting child victims in the criminal justice system. And so we respectfully ask the committee to pass the bill, and I'm here for any questions.
Okay, thank you. Next up, we have the judiciary in support.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jasmine Mamukai. I'm the Director of the Children's Justice Center. I am testifying in support of SB 2114, on behalf of the judiciary, available for questions. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Okay, thank you. That's all the testifiers we have for this measure. Anyone else here to testify in this measure? Good, members, any questions? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to SB 1048 SD1 relating to Hawaii Criminal Justice Data Center fees. We have one testifier here today, the AG's office in support.
Morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Christopher Young. I'm the Administrator of the Hawaii Criminal Justice Data Center, Department of the Attorney General. The department supports this bill, and we look for your support to ensure that the data center can effectively and efficiently have a single method to set fees for services that we provide. I would note that these fees cover 50% of our employee costs. And so the data center's ability to set fees in a proper amount is essential to our operation. I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's all the testifiers. Anyone else here to testify on this measure? If not, members, any questions?
I have a question.
Yep, Chair.
Criminal Justice Center. Yeah, I was wondering if you could explain for the edification of the committee what it is the Criminal Justice Center actually does.
Did you hear the question?
No, I didn't. Sorry.
If you could please explain what the Criminal Justice Center does.
Okay, we are the state data center. We're responsible for the control and acceptance of all criminal justice records. So we are the state criminal repository. We also provide public services, including sex offender registry, including access to criminal histories or what's called rap sheets. We also do fingerprinting as part of our services. And so the data center is really the state repository for all criminal history collected in the state.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to SB 2741 relating to the Commission to promote uniform legislation. First up, we have the AG's office in support.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I'm Stella Kam from the Attorney General's office, and we stand in strong support of this bill for the reasons set forth in our testimony. I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up, we have the Hawaii Commission to promote uniform legislation in support. Okay, not here. All right, members, any questions? Or anyone else here to testify in this measure? Okay, members, any questions? Okay, we'll move on to the last bill on the agenda, SB 2347 SD1 relating to constitutional amendments. We have the judiciary first up with comments.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. The judiciary stands on its written comment, and I am available for any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else here to testify on this measure? If not, members, any questions on this measure? Okay, seeing none, we will recess for decision making.
Okay, Committee on Judiciary and Home Affairs reconvene for decision making. It's Thursday, March 17, 2022. We're in conference room 325. Okay, members, for Senate Bill 3046, Senate Draft 1, making an emergency appropriation to the Department of the Attorney General. The chair will note that the Attorney General has asked for an extension of the lapse date to June 30, 2023, and we will do that. Also, I'd like to include in the committee report the request for additional funding to $4 million. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair, as amended.
The Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 3046 SD1 with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Rep. Ichiyama?
Aye.
Rep. Kobayashi is excused. Rep. Lopresti? Aye. Rep. Lowen? Excused. Rep. McKelvey?
Yeah, what?
Strong, aye. Rep. Nakamura?
Aye.
Rep. Takumi?
Aye, I guess.
Rep. Tokioka is excused. Rep. Ward? Aye. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you very much, members. Senate Bill 2392, Senate Draft 2, related to the legal, civil legal services. I'll note that the bill already contains a blank appropriation and a defective effective date. For this, I would like to further defect the date to January 1st, 2022. Okay, members, any questions or comments? Yeah. Also, Chair, based on the testimony of the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations, we would like to also change the expending agency to the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations Office of Community Services, who already seems to perform the task. I did want to talk to them about it during testimony, but since they did not arrive, we'll have to follow up with them later. But work in progress. Members, any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Vice Chair as amended.
Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 2392 SD2 with amendments noting the previously excused members. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. Senate Bill 2458, Senate Draft 2, relating to legal services for low-income immigrants. Chair will note that this already has a blank appropriation and a defective effective date. We'd like to change in the bill the word immigrant to non-citizens to better describe the class. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair as amended.
Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 2458 SD2 with amendments noting the previously excused members. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. SB 3189, Senate Draft 2, relating to gambling. Chair's recommendation is that we mirror House Bill 2197 by amending the office of the offense of promoting gambling in the second degree to a Class C felony. Amend the offense of promoting gambling in the first degree to a Class B felony. Amend the requisite state of mind to criminal negligence for both offenses, and that no probation or sentencing suspension prohibitions as stated in House Bill 2197. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair as amended.
Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 3189 ST2 with amendments noting the previous excused members. Any members voting with reservations? Reservations, McKelvey. Any other members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. Senate Bill 2082 relating to the abuse of family or household members. Chair's recommendation is that we move this out as is. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair as is.
Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 2082 as is, noting the previously excused members. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. Senate Bill 2114 related to the Children's Justice Programs. Chair's recommendation on this is also to pass it out as is. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair unamended.
Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 2114 as amended. Oh, I'm sorry, as is, noting the previously excused members. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. Senate Bill 1048, Senate Draft 1, related to Hawaii Criminal Justice Data Center fees. Chair's recommendation is that we move this out as is. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair unamended.
Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 1048 ST1 as is, noting the previously excused members. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. Senate Bill 2741 related to the commission to promote uniform legislation. Chair's recommendation is that we move this out as is. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair unamended.
Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 27441 as is, noting the previously excused members. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. Senate Bill 2347, Senate Draft 1 related to constitutional amendments. On page 1, line 13, the word possible should be changed to practicable for consistency with other sections of the bill. And Chair would like to amend the timetable to 10 days for discussion purposes. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair, as amended.
Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 2347 ST1 with amendments noting the presence of Representative Fioka. Any members voting and the previously excused members? Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you very much. Senate Bill 2291 related to electronic eavesdropping. This is a bill that we heard on Tuesday. Chair's recommendation is that we defer this measure as we could not obtain agreement between with the Attorney General's office. And on Senate Bill 2458 related to identification cards, the Senate Transportation Committee has moved this bill forward, the House version of the bill forward. So we will defer discussion on this measure. Members, any? That's it. Members, thank you very much. We are adjourned.